Welcome once again, and in this project we are going to use Excel to calculate or to create a simple payroll calculator. So we have records for these employees and we want to find their grade, and depending on the grade that we select, we will get the hourly rate for the employees, and this is the grade and hourly rate chart. So first of all, we will create a drop down list for the grade so that you can either choose 1 or 2, and that will make it dynamic, right? And to create a drop down list, you just select all the cells that you want to create drop down in it, or you can even select one of the cells, it doesn't matter. Then you go to data, then you come to, or you select data validation. Then inside the validation criteria, you drop down this under the allow and choose list. So after you choose list, you come to the source and create the source of your list. So we can directly select this source as our list, or we can just type 1 comma then 2, right? Any of these will work. When you are done, you just select or click on OK. So now you see that this small drop arrow will appear on each of the cells, right? So depending on the grade of the person, you can choose from the list. If you type anything which is not included in the list, you get this error. All right, so the hourly rate too, we want it to be automatic or dynamic, and the hourly rate will be determined per the grade that is chosen. And to do that, we will use a simple if function to do that. So equal to if into brackets. So the logic will be if this cell B4 is equal to 1. No, we are using an if nested. We are using a nested if function to do that. So if B4 is equal to 1, then the hourly rate should be 15. That is per the chart that we have here, right? And if using the nested if the same cell, if the same cell is, which is B4 is equal to 2 comma, then the hourly rate is 20. So when you are done, you just close the nested if bracket. Else, before you close the nested if bracket, bring an else statement. That is, if none of the options is selected, just write select a grade in strings like this. When you are writing a text, make sure you put it in double quotes, then enter. Right, so you see that when we've not selected any grade, the rate will tell us, the cells under the rate will tell us to select a grade, right? So I want this nested if function to apply to all these cells. So to do that, I'll just drag across the cells, below the cells, right? So now let's try if our options and the if function is working. So let me choose 1. Voila. So 1, then it changes to 15. The rate is 15, right? The rate is in time, so we don't need a $sign. So let me quickly change it to general, right? Let's change to 2, or choose option 2, right, 20. So our option drop down, and if and the nested if statement is working perfectly, right. So the next thing that we will do is to provide the weekly rate, the weekly hours worked by each employee. So these are just random numbers. So the maximum is 40, and that is 8 hours times 5, right. So in the first week, this employee worked for 40 hours, second week 35, third week 40, second week 25, right. So we can just create random values for them. So I'll quickly run through and create random values for them so that we can go faster. 25, 30, 35, right. So I will just drag this across, make some few changes, make some few random changes, so that we don't get the same values for 25 days. Okay, it's okay, right. So we have created our values for the hours worked, right. So in the next table, we are going to calculate the total weekly wage, and to do that, we need to multiply all these by the rate that the person is supposed to get. So you come here and just type equal to the rate, which is C4, multiplied by the total weeks worked. Okay, into brackets. No, wait. I'm getting this wrong. Okay, so after we are done with the hours worked, let's calculate the weekly wage. So to do that, we will multiply the value or the number of hours worked by the rate. So in week 1 is equal to 15, or C4, times D4. Then you get the total for the week. You can just drag down to create. Getting wrong values. Okay, the reason why I'm getting this error is that I've not selected any grade for these people, so Excel don't know which values to multiply, and you can't multiply a number with text. That's why I'm getting that error. So if I change or I select the grades, that error will be corrected, right? Okay, so now we have calculated the total weekly wage for the week 1, and we want to do same for week 2, 3, and 4. Ideally, we could have just selected this and dragged across, but then we will get an error because let's look at the formula. When you look inside the formula bar, you see that it's multiplying the first C4 by D4. So in week 2, when you check, you see that it's D4 by E4, which is wrong. This was supposed to be C4 because we want to multiply with the values under the C column. And because by default Excel uses absolute reference, it will multiply across. So to correct that, let me clean all these. To correct that, all that I need to do is to use relative referencing. And relative referencing, to implement it, you just type a $sign before the first parameter. So by this, you are telling Excel that any value that you want to multiply should be multiplied with C4. Okay, so let me drag across, no, below. You see that the first week will have the same values. Let me drag across, right? So now we are getting correct values. Let me click in the formula for you to see. When I click in the formula, you see that all of them are multiplied with C4. When you go to the second line, it's multiplied with C5, and so on and so forth. So you always have to be mindful when you are creating something of this sort. Okay, so we have our values for the various weeks. So the next thing we need to do is to calculate the total hours worked and the total weekly wage. So to do that, just type equal to, then you type your sum function into brackets, then you select for all the hours within the 4 weeks. You press enter, then you drag down. Right, we are good to go. Okay, so we want to calculate for the total weekly wage as well. We use our sum function, then we select the weekly wage, enter. Right, we drag down to apply to all the other employees. So now we are done with the weekly payroll calculator, but there is one thing that I want us to do. We want to check for those who worked below the weekly or the hour or the working hours threshold, and those who were able to achieve the weekly expected hour. All right, and to do that, we will use conditional formatting. So all that we need to do is select all the cells under total hours worked. Ideally, if everybody works 40 hours per week, we expect 160 hours, right? So when you select all the cells below the total hours worked, you just come to conditional formatting, then you create a new rule. So our new rule is select format only cells that contain, then the rule is any value below or less than 160, then it means the person worked below the hourly threshold, right? So let's format it to red. We want the text or the font size to be red, the font color to be red. Let me make it red. Then we want the fill to be this color. Okay, so let's apply it. Right, so by this we can see that some of the employees worked below the threshold. Let's also apply a conditional formatting. So you come to new rule, select this. So any value equal to 160 should be formatted with a green text or a green font color and be filled with a light green color. All right, so now from this we can see that only 3 employees were able to work for the required working hours. The rest fell below the 160 threshold. But when we change the records for Adjoa Mansa, let me make it 40, 40, 40, 40, and 40. You see that now the work hours for Adjoa Mansa will change as soon as it meets the required threshold. So basically, you can use Excel to create this weekly payroll calculator. Thanks for watching. Have a nice day.